When it comes to comic books, nobody stays dead, except for Uncle Ben.
R.I.P. Welcome back to Top 10 Nerd. I'm your host AJ.
And I'm Adam.
And these are the top 10 superheroes who die the most.
Coming in number 10 today is Moon Knight. Originally a US Marine turned mercenary who was betrayed, bit the dust, and was then resurrected by the Egyptian moon god Khonshu, Moon Knight is no stranger to coming back from the afterlife.
Mark Spector will almost always be brought back to life by Khonshu and is therefore even more reckless of a fighter because of it.
His second passing after the initial one that created Moon Knight was when Seth Falcon attacked Spectre Corps with a computer virus.
Instead of letting it destroy the entire thing, he trapped it inside of his own building and sacrificed himself to save the conglomerate and its employees.
In total, Moon Knight has ceased to be around 3 times in the comics, with him also succumbing in the pages of the most recent Moon Knight run that came out this year.
At number 9 is Spider-Man. Spider-Man does whatever a spider can, and that includes getting squished.
His first death in the comics was back during Secret Wars issue number 11 when Dr. Doom, fueled with the Beyonder's powers, went all zappy happy and took down Spider-Man in his black suit along with the other big names like Captain America, Wolverine, Thor, and even the Hulk.
Lucky for them, some alien magic and high-tech stuff brought them back from the dead.
Years later, in adjectiveless Spider-Man number 17, Spidey faced a toxic blast and his heart just stopped, leading to Spidey meeting death and Thanos in a near-death experience.
Then during Infinity Gauntlet number 4, Thanos' buddy Taraxia thought it'd be cool to smack Spidey in the face with the rock. That's right, she killed Spider-Man with a freaking rock. Not cool at all.
Luckily though, that whole mess got undone by the end of that comic book run. Then there was the Clone Saga, where a villain's poison made Spider-Man's heart just give out.
He had some heart-to-hearts, pun intended, with ghostly Uncle Ben and Harry Osborn before Dr. Octopus revived him. Yeah, that's right, Doc Ock actually did something good for once.
Now, later on, during the other crossover, Spider-Man faced Morlun in a gruesome battle leading to his demise, but a mystical spider rebirth gave him the new spider-themed powers, in quotations, because they're not spider-themed, like, at all. But thankfully, those powers didn't stick around for too long.
Then there was the Superior Spider-Man arc, where Doc Ock did this crazy body switch with Peter Parker, leaving Peter in a dying body. However, Peter's latent consciousness would eventually regain control, but not without a bunch of mind wiping and mind gymnastics.
And finally, there's Spider-Man / Deadpool number 4. Deadpool was hired to shoot Peter square in the forehead, believing Pete to be a bad guy until he realizes he's not.
With the help of his then wife Shikla, Pete is brought back to life, only to have his face blown off again by Deadpool.
Now, totally convinced that Peter isn't evil, I mean, it only took shooting him twice to do this, but Deadpool calls in his ex, Mistress Death, to revive Pete once again. And in at number 8 is Batman. For a man with no superpowers of any kind at all, Batman has cheated the Grim Reaper a lot. Like, a lot.
But on top of that, Batman has been doing this for years. The first time Batman ate it was in Batman number 72 from 1952.
To infiltrate a group called the Death Cheaters, Bruce took a substance to end his own life and then was later revived by Robin.
Other times, Batman has gone on a 2-day trip to the underworld, include Brave and the Bold number 15 from 1974, Detective Comics number 644 from 1992, JLA 74 from 2003, Batman number 672 from 2008, Final Crisis number 6 from 2009, although this was technically him being sent through time, Batman number 6 from 2012, Batman number 40 from 2015,
and that's about 8 times, with some of those instances being totally arguable, that Batman has gone to the grave in the main continuity, and he came back from every single one.
Even if we started looking at any other alternate Earths, that number goes way up. At number 7 is Superman. First time Superman met his maker was in 1961 Superman number 149, a tale which saw Lex Luthor deceiving Superman using kryptonite rays to kill him. However, this was one of many non-canon events.
Moving into the Silver Age in Superman number 188, Zunile, a lesser-known villain, exploited Superman's kryptonite vulnerability, making the hero's first canonical actual passing away.
2 years later, in Action Comics number 366, Superman encountered Virus X, engineered by Lex Luthor. Intent on avoiding a slow death, Superman sought demise near Flambron, but intervention saved him.
In Action Comics number 387, transported a million years into the future, Superman faced another deathly challenge. Luthor's drone, harvesting energy, seemed fatal until the Master Healer revived him.
Exploiting his vulnerability to magic, encounters like World's Finest Comics 207 and Justice League of America number 145 presented moments of peril for Superman against Dr. Light and Count Crystal respectively.
But his most iconic death, the death of Superman, naturally, was a battle against Doomsday resulting in a global mourning period, yet contingency plans ensured that he came back anyways.
Similarly, All-Star Superman from 2008 portrayed Superman's cells overloaded with solar radiation, setting him on a mission to repair the sun, leaving fans speculating on his fate.
Crossovers and alternate realities added depth with instances like DC Universe vs. the Masters of the Universe #2 from 2013 and Red Sun from 2003, showcasing Superman's vulnerability to magic and kryptonite in various different contexts.
Now, despite all these deaths, comic narratives often found ways to bring Superman back, highlighting the enduring resilience of the Man of Steel against overwhelming odds.
Number 6, Captain America. Captain America has gone on a brief jog to and from the afterlife on many occasions, and there are plenty of times on top of that where Steve Rogers just faked it instead, making everyone think he had actually perished.
While he faked it in Captain America #11 and in a Punisher crossover miniseries, he also technically faked it when he got frozen in ice, as everyone thought he was actually killed in action.
As for Captain America actually succumbing to the silent embrace, he bit the dust in the Korvac saga, Secret Wars, West Coast Avengers #2, Infinity Gauntlet, Onslaught when fighting terrorists at the end of his late 1990s series, during Mark Gruenwald's run when the super soldier serum just gave out, but he was revived by Red Skull, and most famously at the end of the first Civil War in Captain America #25.
That's 8 times that Captain America met the afterlife and has come back from every single one. At number 5 is Wolverine. For a guy with the world's greatest healing factor, able to regenerate his body from a single drop of blood, he's managed to kick the bucket in all kinds of stories.
Honestly, too many times to even count, but here are some of our favorites.
Wolverine was killed by Dracula,
Asphyxiated in space by Strife,
generally unalive like everyone else when Earth is destroyed in What If Avengers lost Operation Galactic Storm and What If Heroes lost the Atlantis attacks.
he was burned to the pearly gates by Armor,
Decapitated by Dr. Doom.
decapitated by Deadpool,
His brain was destroyed by Kitty Pryde.
he got electrocuted by the Punisher,
Turned into a zombie.
beaten by the Hulk,
Obliterated by Master Mold.
alternate future version of him took out the past version of him in Age of Ultron,
Turned to stone by Gorgon and revived by the Hand.
he was taken out by Thanos, at least till Nebula reversed all the deaths that he had caused.
Sacrificed himself to power up Thor so that he could defeat Doom at the end of time.
There's an Exile story that's literally nothing but teams of Wolverines just getting wiped out over and over again.
He was ended by Sentinel in Days of Future Past.
He used the Montesi formula to destroy himself after becoming a vampire.
Disintegrated by a set-possessed Scarlet Witch.
He died in limbo alongside the other X-Men in Magic's timeline.
Turned into rubber by Thanos.
He was blown up by this Pharaoh guy in Marvel The End.
Absorbed by Thanos with the rest of the universe.
He was taken out by Gorgon.
Lost his healing factor and got covered in liquid adamantium.
Taken out by Sim in Limbo.
He was ended by dust.
His healing factor was removed and he was taken out by Sublime.
Kulon Goth ended him and used his spine as a Hulk collar.
And he fell into the sun while destroying the Mother Mold.
Beheaded by the Beast.
He died 7 times attacking Orcus.
Bled out by the Horde.
And don't worry though, he got better by the end of all of them. Number 4, Ben Reilly. Both versions of Scarlet Spider, Ben Reilly and Kane Parker, have gone to the afterlife and come back from it. But Ben's experience with mortality was a little bit worse in my opinion.
You see, after his initial departure from life, thanks to clone degeneration, Reilly was brought back to life by his own creator, the Jackal, via more cloning.
But not just once. In an attempt to improve his own cloning process, the Jackal proceeded to take Ben's life and subsequently bring him back to life a total of 26 times.
Now, understandably, this being turned on and off again a million times drove him to the point of insanity.
He escaped and replaced Miles Warren as the Jackal and vowed to clone the entire world.
He was eventually defeated and went back to being the Scarlet Spider, but he still wasn't done with passing away.
After becoming the Scarlet Spider in Las Vegas, he passed away and was revived again in Ben Reilly's Scarlet Spider Volume 1, number 25 from 2018, and then lastly, he sacrificed himself and was recloned once again in Spider-Geddon Volume 1, number 5, also in 2018.
That brings his slayings to a total number of 29. At number 3 is Jean Grey, who has canonically died no less than 15 times. See, before 2004, she didn't exactly have a record for clocking out of life too often, just twice actually. First in that Dark Phoenix saga where she sacrificed herself to dodge the whole becoming an evil entity deal known as the Dark Phoenix.
Then in 2004, things kinda went bananas. Wolverine took her out in Grant Morrison's new X-Men storyline. But surprise surprise, it wasn't curtains for Jean. Nope, that just stirred up the Phoenix Force within her, which revived her. But the killing spree didn't stop there. Magneto got in on the action as well, sending her off once again.
Enter the Phoenix Force's comeback plan, as it aimed to obliterate itself, but instead found its way back to Earth, heading straight for Jean. To weaken his powers, Jean went all strategic and asked Wolverine for a favor, to keep unaliving her until the Force got worn out from the whole revival routine.
He obliged, slicing and dicing her like a human reset button, but every time she just bounced back. After a bunch of rounds, Jean wrestled control from the Force and said, enough.
She took off in the end and settled in the white-hot room destined to chill there for 150 years, but let's be real, that 150-year rule is more of a suggestion.
And in at number 2 today is Mr. Immortal, who died at least 30 times that we know of. Mr. Immortal, otherwise known as Craig Hollis, is the leader of the Great Lake Avengers, and has the ability to survive death, just straight up.
Craig is actually an over-evolved form of human life beyond that of even the mutants, called Homo Supreme, but since he is the only member of that race, he just classifies himself as a mutant.
Craig is so immortal that he was followed around by a messenger of death called the Death Urge until he was about 8 years old, who actively tried to get the young Craig to end his own existence multiple times.
But no matter what happens, he just gets better and walks it off. Now while some of you may think that means he doesn't actually pass away, you'd be wrong. His mutant ability is referred to as retroactive immortality, which means that he resurrects after he actually passes on.
There is seemingly no way around Mr. Immortal's powers either, and he would know. Mr. Immortal, unfortunately, has been dealing with the big sad throughout his life and has attempted to delete himself multiple times in many different ways, all of which were unsuccessful, making his condition worse, but also making him extremely irritable.
Mr. Immortal has been stated to be the last living being in the universe, merging with the sentience of the cosmos, surviving beyond the end of time, and moving on into the next iteration of everything just like Galactus.
Damn.
And number 1 is the Wasp. She only died 7 times canonically, but she definitely knows how to go out with style, or shall I say, with a bang.
Haha. There's this intense saga known as the Korvac saga, where she bravely fought alongside the Avengers, but sadly met her end battling Korvac.
Then Secret Wars was particularly hard on our Wasp, as she died when she got hit by a laser, only to be revived and then subsequently killed by Dr. Doom.
Then, remember the snap heard around the universe in the Infinity Gauntlet story? Yeah, Wasp was one of the heroes who bit the dust right away when Thanos did his thing, and in another event, Onslaught, she willingly sacrificed herself alongside her teammates.
Then in Secret Invasion number 8, a Skrull intimidating Hank Pym turned her into a ticking time bomb. Now nobody was able to undo or defuse the bomb, and so Thor sent her into space with his hammer, where she exploded in the atmosphere.
But in a plot twist, the explosion blasted her into the microverse, where her buddies managed to save her a few years later. And that seems to be all we got.
Thank you guys so much for watching Top 10 Nerd.
I'm Adam Andrews.
And I'm AJ Spatola.
We'll catch you nerds on the flippy flop. Peace out.
Later, nerds.